We are back with the next episode of the Irrelevant Podcast. I did not make it that late tonight. I think I've done worse. Um, wouldn't you say so, Jason?
Well, I had a headset this time, so I kind of figured.
Figured what that I'd be late.
Around the general time of when you said we were going to start.
Okay, it still is the general time.
That's why I said it.
Um, so Jason recommended to me Defiance, directed by Edward Zwick. When
Zwick.
did this come out?
2008, I believe.
Okay, I know he's done some other movies. Hold on. Like, he's done some other movies I know are famous. Hold on. I think it's like Blood Diamond is the name of it.
Oh. I saw Blood Diamond a long time ago. I just remember the scene where they're cutting off kids' hands.
Yeah. Oh, he did the Last Samurai. Okay,
Oh,
that makes sense.
nice.
Okay, he did Glory. I haven't actually seen that, but I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but no, I didn't know I forgot he did The Last Samurai, actually. I really like that movie.
Yeah, yeah, obviously I've seen all those minus Glory, but with this one, it's been a while since I've seen Defiance, and I originally we were originally trying to watch Kill Bill. That didn't work, and then we tried to watch
Yeah.
Kung Fu Hustle, but apparently you've given up comedies for Lent along with other things. So I thought this one would
Well,
be a great one.
it's not that I gave it up. I just think it didn't really fit with the mood, I guess. Um,
Well, this one is definitely
did
not a
you
comedy, even though there's a lot of funny moments in it, which is I forgot
there
about.
You're right, there is a lot of funny moments in this. Did you see this like way back when it came out, or did you see it like more recently?
I didn't see it in theaters. I think when it came out on DVD, me and my friend had this at his house, and we'd watch it every now and again. I don't know why, but I saw this when I was a kid, and I haven't seen it since. But I just remember it being very good, so I was actually curious to see if I liked it watching it again.
Hmm. And did you?
I did for the most part. There's some of the sentimental stuff, or not sentimental, whatever the word, the some of the more emotions that they tried to push through the movie seemed a little bit weird to me. I guess just looking at it as an adult as opposed to back then, because back then I thought it was super serious and really sad, which it is in general, but I feel like a lot more of it was forced than I remember.
Yeah, I was gonna get into that. I mean, I do give it like a positive score, but I mean, it's not the kind of movie I would watch multiple times. I don't even really think it'd be the movie I could watch a second time. I mean, I enjoyed it, right? It's not like I was bored, right? But there was a lot of moments, yeah, where I was like, yeah, this is just forced. It's not really working.
What parts didn't
There
work?
was some no, like certain ways, like just like when the music would kick in, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of cheesy and stuff like that. I mean, I liked some of the characters. I liked what's his name? Not Daniel Craig, but like the second guy,
Oh, Zeus. I can't remember his name.
Zeus.
He plays in a lot of
Yeah.
he plays in a lot of like action. He plays the Russian spy in a lot of action movies. Funny enough,
Oh, okay.
but I
Yeah,
like
okay.
the story. I think the story is interesting because it's for the most part relatively a true story about Jews in Belarus making their own little fort in the forest, kind of fighting back against the Nazis and the other Belarusians who sold them out to the Germans. So, and then eventually it just came to, and I can't remember if it was at the end of the movie, if it was the actual Germ, it was the Germans I think they were fighting because they were about to, that's why the Russians pulled out because they were about to slaughter the entire camp, and the Russians have said, fuck that, we're not going to deal with it, we're going to leave.
Yeah, no, the source material is there. Um, and that's what really elevates it because the story. I mean, it's so good.
Yeah.
Um,
And they're all real people
but
for the most part, I believe. At least all the major ones.
Right, yeah, that's also what I thought was pretty cool. And I liked how it showed that stuff at the end of like I mean, I know it's typical of like a based on true story movies, but it is always interesting to see how like they show those little memoirs of like the actual people.
Yeah.
That's always interesting, even if it is very just typical and cliche of of this type of movie.
Yeah.
Um, but I can't get over. I can excuse this in very few movies. I cannot stand when they're just like speaking English and they're in Belarus. Right? I'm like, why can't this movie just be in Belarusian or Belarus? I don't know what their language is. I'm like, that would just be the movie would be 10 times better just from that.
Well, I think it's because
I
it's
know
just a
it's a
Western movie, so I guess it's more difficult to have train the actors to be as charismatic as they are in a different language.
well, I
Um,
understand.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I understand like why from like a marketing perspective and like a utility and like a practical
Yeah.
sense, right? But it still just doesn't make it still just doesn't work in the movie's favor, in my opinion.
I think for historical movies, or let's say with like period dramas, or not period dramas, or if I'm watching medieval stuff or anything of that nature, the accents and the English is all over the place. They mix modern words with older words, and I feel like it's a little bit weird, but this is relatively recent history, and it's not even out of the realm of possibility that they spoke English, or they didn't speak English. I'm sorry. Um,
I mean, not. It's likely they
Well,
didn't,
obviously not
because
like
like
that, but
English.
I feel like just like again, it's a Western movie, so like if it was an actual European movie, then fine, because they totally could do that story, right? Um, but I don't
Yes,
know. I guess I don't really care what. I mean, I do like watching foreign films and reading the subtitles. I don't have a problem with all that, but I don't think it has to be in the language that the story is representing, especially if it takes place not that long ago, unless the story just unless they're speaking a bunch of different languages. Because there's times where they were speaking different languages in the movie, but not that often.
that's kind of cool though. I like that.
Yeah.
Um, I know. I just it's just weird. Like, just when they're speaking English, like when Daniel Craig is speaking English in like a Belarusian accent. It's just weird. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, that's how they do it with most movies. They speak English in whatever the accent of the thing they're trying to portray, wherever countries.
Yeah, but
That's common.
that guy no, but like Daniel Craig, like you can clearly tell that he's just not like Belarusian. Like you can tell he's just like not that. I don't know. It just felt really apparent. Like the accent, I didn't really think was that good.
Yeah, I can. For me, I just hear James Bond when I hear him talk. So, but the other
Yeah,
guy, I
I
can't
know
remember his
it's.
guy's. The guy that played his brother, since he is somewhat Russian. I don't know if he's American or if he's Russian
Yeah,
American or
you
whatever.
said he's like you said. Yeah, he's actually Russian or something.
I believe so. I don't really remember, but
Yeah, his accent was fine. But like Daniel Craig, I mean, it might just be placebo, just because I when I see him, I just see James Bond, so
yeah,
maybe I'm just used to.
I think it's
So
the same for me.
I know that that's it's like when you see Daniel Radcliffe, you just see Harry Potter. Like he can't be anything else.
Right.
Um, which I mean I guess that's just kind of sucks for them because they can't really like Daniel Radcliffe didn't really find many hits after Harry Potter.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying when we were talking about Harry Potter, I didn't think he was that. I mean, not charismatic, but just I don't think he just brought an interesting dynamic to the character. And I guess if
Right.
you read the book,
Right.
it might be totally what you want. But I don't know, just him as an actor, I just never really got into the roles that he played. And I've watched a couple of movies like The Women in Black or The Woman in Black. And then I still want to see the one where he pretends to be an undercover cop in a neo-Nazi kind of shit. That one kind of looks interesting because I feel like that's a way out there role for him, and I'm wondering what he would do. But I don't know.
Oh, what's that one? Oh, Swiss Army Man. I want to watch that one where it's like his friend takes like he plays the dead body of a friend and like but the body can still like talk. It's really and like he just brings him to this island. Like it's a really bizarre concept.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to watch anything. You know me. I just
But but do you know what I'm talking about? Like, are you familiar with that movie?
no, I haven't ever heard of it.
Okay, I think we might need to do that at some point. Um, but well, yeah. I mean, I don't. Obviously, we disagreed about that about Daniel Radcliffe being Harry Potter. I think like my criticism more so would be like how in the books, like you can clearly tell, like as the books got like in the later in the books, like he got a lot more mature, right? And you could tell Harry was like a man,
Yeah.
right? And he was a lot more serious, you know. Um, but then like in I mean, I'm not saying he's not serious in the later movie, but he still has just like that blank expression, you know, even in like the later movies.
You know, I definitely could see the progression. I just didn't really, I didn't enjoy him as the main character. I felt like there were way more entertaining characters in Harry Potter. Like, I don't think he should have been the main character, but I guess that's just how he was written. So I feel like he probably just did the role well. It's been a while. I kind of skimmed through the books, so I don't even remember. Obviously, people are like the books are better, blah blah blah. But
People always say that,
I know
even if
it's a
it's
fucking
Twilight.
uphill, rolling a ball uphill. So I don't really give a shit. But I like the movies and they're part of my childhood. But I can't really say I've watched too many of them back, really. And just like most movies in general, I don't watch back. But yeah, going back to this one, that's what because like I always remember like, oh, this is a good movie. It's a serious movie. It's well done. There's good action scenes. Blah blah blah. I didn't remember all like the cheesy emotional stuff that they tried to do. That part was I forgot when I was watching. I was like, it's crazy how over I don't know 10 years we'll say that you can totally have a changed perception from just oh because I haven't seen this in 10 years. So it's
Yeah.
crazy to think
Oh,
about.
I know. Yeah, because like you were probably, I mean, you're just a different person, like everything.
Well, I was always cynical, so I kind of noticed that stuff back then, but I don't remember it being in this movie. So I don't remember if I noticed it back then or if I just remember liking the movie. But overall, I still think
Interesting.
it's a decent movie, or maybe because I just like the story. But it did have a lot of good
It's a
quotes in the
decent
movie
movie.
too.
It does, and I really like the costume design. I think that's one of the best aspects of the movie. Like any character, like the stuff they're wearing, I'm like, I like that. Even if it's just like simple peasant farmer clothes, I love like that Eastern European kind of dress. It's very pleasing to me. It's about like I love the Russians' uniforms. Those are really cool with those furry hats and those long bluish, tealy, grayish trench coats. Those just this looks so cool.
Yeah, the Russians are coming for you, man. Fucking
Yeah. I think yeah, like as I said, I there's a lot of points where the music kicked in where it just the music was just it just felt it was cheesy.
yeah, and that's part of my problem with just the way they make movies in the Western world, or at least in this country. But I don't know. I think overall, like the story of it to me was always interesting because you don't really ever hear a story of rebellion like that from really any Jewish. Well, I'm trying to now that I say that I'm trying to think of. I actually no, I can't. I can't think of any other like rebellion story involving Jews. You always just learn about all the atrocities and all the shit that happened to them for thousands of years, right? And people can
Right.
make that parallel to the Israeli government now, but that's a whole can of worms and all that shit.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
I haven't heard like a legitimate story like that because I feel like and they even touched on that part in the movie, and I can't when I watched it back, I at some parts of it were kind of like a little cheesy, but then the other parts it was almost or it was really a true reflection, even though they're obviously telling a true story, fictionalized. But how the brother Zeus felt when he was fighting in the Russian army, right? So it's like, a Jew can't drink, a Jew can't fight. The only thing Jews are good for is dying.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was
Right.
a pretty realistic parallel because I don't think I know any like especially like Jewish person that like everybody admires or just talks about with like positive attributes because mostly and that's just in general because like mostly everyone in Hollywood is Jewish or a lot of people in important positions are Jewish, but no one like says like they want to aspire to be that person because they're Jewish. You know what I mean?
Mm. That's an interesting way of looking at it.
Because I feel like there's a
Um,
lot of other things that it doesn't matter who you are. It matters where you're from, what your culture, your religion is. I feel like there's just innate respects that some people have, but besides like other Jewish people, I can't think of a famous. I don't know. I might be completely off base here, but like it's definitely not in popular culture. Even though a lot of, like I said, a lot of Jewish people do work in Hollywood and they write a lot of stories, but a lot of, besides being self-deprecating or about something completely else, I can't really think in the moment because I'm sure there are, but I just can't think of any.
Jesus.
Well, I mean, that's a little bit more of a trickier subject. Um,
I know. That's a joke. There's a
um,
bunch of, well, I mean, because I think a lot of people are just confused about what Judaism is. There's a great. Are you familiar with Maimonides?
no.
He's like one of the great Jewish philosophers of, I believe, like the 14th or 15th century. Don't quote me on that. He was from Spain back when there was like all the Jews and Muslims living there.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of like philosophical and spiritual writings and stuff like that about Judaism. Um, and he's like the quintessential like medieval Jewish philosopher.
Yeah, I mean, obviously those
Um,
guys are out there, but I mean, like you'll go into schools, right, and like they'll have a quote from Confucius, or
right,
like
but
stuff
I'm
like that.
saying
Like I
like
don't have, I can't,
he's on that caliber though is what I'm saying.
just in the total mainstream because I don't think I've learned because I've taken a couple
I
philosophy
mean,
classes and I guess there's just way too many, there's just too much fucking information everywhere. But I've never taken a specific, um, because what time for you said you said it, but I missed it. What time frame was he in?
let me Google it.
Or did you
Hold
say it? I
on.
don't know. I'm fucking scattered tonight. Jesus.
I said it was like 14th, 15th. No, I was much earlier than that. Wow. No, it was the 12th century.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess that
Yes.
considers medieval philosophy. So I don't even think I know much medieval philosophy in general. I don't remember when, obviously, besides the ancient Greeks and the 1800s guys, all the Brits and their economical philosophies and all that shit. I don't really know much.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that like oh and then like the 17th century philosophy like John Locke and Thomas Hobbes. Like we always
Yeah.
learn about that
Yeah.
in,
I'm making
in
a very
school.
convoluted point. My whole entire thing was like stories like Defiance. I don't see that often. Like an admirable Jewish story that doesn't like involve some sort of victimization. I
I
guess is my
see.
point because obviously the like you said the fatal sin of this movie was the forced draw of the emotional aspect of the sadness of the story, but other than that, like they were portrayed as badass characters or at least, fighting for survival. Whereas most
Right.
Holocaust esque
Yeah.
movies, it's always like painted the Germans are evil and then the Jews are just helpless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I am not interested as much in World War II as I am World War One because World War Two is depicted like super black and white,
Yeah.
right? And obviously, like, yeah, the Nazis are evil, right? Like, I'm not gonna deny that, but it's like it would be interesting to see a movie that would like not paint them as good guys, but that would be like, hey, like they're human beings. They had good intentions, so what are those good intentions?
Yeah.
Because obviously, like they thought they were doing good. I mean, yeah, but I mean, like I just think like we take for granted a lot of like like, well, why is that bad, right? Because we can say that's bad and like we lose nothing, right? Where it's like, because imagine if you were there and you say that and you lose your life.
Well, I mean,
I just think
you don't gain anything
it's
by
it's
saying it.
no right, but that's what I'm saying. Like it's just I just think it's important to take that into account.
And I don't know. That's why I like more the fictionalized aspects of World War II. Um, and just in
Well, sorry.
because I like the period and I like like you said the clothes and the weapons and all that kind of style and the way they portray the landscapes and all that and the colors. So I enjoy it from that aspect. But yeah, like the more I agree, and I remember you mentioned that last night. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like most of those kind of all those war periods. You know, all the rustlings in Europe. But I don't know. I there's something
Well,
about just like a because like it's not even a vengeance story. It's more of like a it
this is survival.
yeah, it's survival, but it's like it's a very specific type of It's kind of like the Free State of Jones. Have you ever seen that movie?
I know what that is. I haven't seen it.
It kind of has this, and I haven't seen that movie in forever, and I thought it was a great movie, so it could be the same exact vein with this one. But basically, it was not wanting, I think they're in Mississippi. They want to be their own state. They didn't want to be part of the North or the South. They had, you know, slaves fighting with them because they didn't agree with it and all that shit. But they also didn't agree with a lot of the stuff from the North and their tyrannical raids into the farms and all that shit. So it's empathizing to me because I feel like when I watch something that's not partial to both sides, it has its own sort of independent flair to it. I usually gravitate towards that in general, and also just the people that are like that. Especially when the dialogue when the old guy, the teacher, he was always talking politics with the other dude that was the intellectual, the journalist or whatever the fuck he was, saying like capitalism, communism is just the little mustache fighting the big mustache.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
um,
Well, that's because like what you were saying, like in World War I, like most media about it, like it's not black and white because it's really not clear, like who is good and who is bad. Whereas like in World War II, it's pretty obvious, right?
yeah,
So I guess I mean it makes sense, right? But in World War I, like really think about it, it's like who what were they fighting about, It's confusing and it's like thousands of years almost of just of conflicts building up, a bunch of different things, leaders, peoples, cultures. It's a lot.
yeah. I still think
Um
Germany had, and God, man, I need to get back into reading shit. I almost had a fucking degree in this shit. Obviously, the shooting of Archduke Ferdinand was the fucking, you know, the
that's what
catalyst,
started everything.
huh?
Right, yeah.
But I think Germany still had a major hand in, fucking shit up pretty early.
Well, sure. Um Absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know.
But
I don't remember why we got
you,
dragged into the war. Or we know.
it's
Oh, wait, did we?
it's because they
Hold on. Wait a minute before I
yeah,
look really
it's
dumb.
because they yeah, it's because they sank the Lusitania.
Okay, right. For a second,
Like that
I just had this like flash of like the U.S. wasn't in World War One. I was like, oh god.
I nice. Well, I must say this as well. Like, I don't like the way that World War II, like post World War II, has like influenced our society and culture, right? Because it led to the boomers and is like the foundation of like everything wrong with our society now. Um, and like I don't like the way it's influenced art. Um, yeah, any of that. I just think it just kind of dulled it down and made it because like when you look at things like Star Wars or Marvel, right? They're very well, I hate to keep using black and white. Like they're very
One dimensional.
yes, and like there's not a lot of stakes, right? Like the good guys are gonna win, right? Like a bunch of like narrow victories. I mean obviously there is the struggle and tension, right, to make it an interesting story, right? But it just led to just like the good guys beat the bad guys, right? And like everywhere.
I think I don't know. I mean, if you I think because, like you said, like World War Two was not as, I mean, World War Two was way more black and white than World War One, right? Even though, like you said, like Germany sinking the Lusitania and invading Belgium, like they still kind of had similar ambitions, obviously without all the fascist shit. Although you could argue that they probably were the same type back then, but like I said, it's been forever since I've learned about it. But I don't know. I feel like
Right.
it was like you said, it was a very clear reason why World War II happened.
Right, exactly. So
um,
that's why it's just infinite. Like World War One is infinitely more fascinating to me.
well, I think the other point you touched on last night was obviously the main point. It was the war to end all wars, and everybody was so shocked and literally shell shocked at all the new technology that we've created to help each other out in the business of death. Especially
Yeah.
the chemical warfare. I
Um.
can't imagine having experienced that for the first time in your life, let alone the mortars and the machine guns.
Yeah, and that's why like just after it was over, everyone was like, "What did we just do?" You know,
Yeah,
like what the hell did we just do? You know, because it led to all of like those like just deformed, disfigured, like mutilated soldiers with PTSD, right?
yeah,
Like it just made Europe broken, right? And like they had all the no man's land with all the dead bodies and everything. It was hell, I can imagine. And like like America didn't even really like all of the war was fought in Europe. Like none of it, I don't think, was fought on U.S. soil.
yeah. The only thing, I mean, not really U.S. soil, but Pearl Harbor in World War II. Other than the Civil War, is not really. But I mean, obviously, the 1800s further back, yeah. But yeah, no. America's pretty hard to attack geographically.
Yeah, no, our geography is so ridiculously awesome.
Yeah.
Like it is hard to attack.
I think World
Um,
War II would have a different like, and maybe probably not. I'm making a false point, but if the Japanese planned a chemical attack, I'm sure Germany had other plans to invade something. But I feel like if we ever had to defend a massive war in the homeland, then that would be a different story. I think Los Angeles was the target, if I'm not mistaken. But um,
something like that.
you ever see the photos back then? They give people like Mickey Mouse gas masks, and they're really fucking creepy. Kind of cool at the same time because they're
Really?
yeah
No,
they were
I have not seen those.
anticipating it happen. So, or I don't know if they're anticipating, if they were just scared that I can't remember, but there's a lot of weird shit that happened in World War II that not many people know about. Obviously, there's maybe in World War One too, but like I said, all the experiments that the Nazis did,
Yeah,
and all the
yeah.
shit the Japanese did that they don't publicly recognize, maybe still to this day. I'm not sure. I don't know if they
My,
just do the rape of Nanking. I don't know if that's publicly recognized yet. And
what is that?
the Japanese, I think this is World War II. Let me make sure I'm getting my dates right. But basically, the soldiers went to China and they pretty much just fucking, they called it the Great Rape of Nanking. So the soldiers just went ham on the locals. But
Man,
I think it was World War II. Yeah, Nanjing
like
massacre. Okay, 1937 for 6 weeks. So
shit,
early
man.
on. Yeah, they
I have a friend.
yeah.
What's up?
Yeah, mass rape, looting, arson, obviously murder. Crazy. So
Man.
there are estimated, to the consensus is 200,000 deaths, but it could range from 40 to 300,000. So,
Mm.
but I don't know if they publicly recognize this yet. But they
I
might, but I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I have a friend whose grandpa was a World War II veteran, and his dad told me that like there were some people who he knew that like they were captured by the Japanese, and the Japanese literally like cooked them and ate them.
Yeah, I'm sure they did some really freaky shit to scare the POWs, and there was one where their dude, I think this might be in Vietnam or Pol Pot, or it might be also World War II, where they buried prisoners in the sand and see who can knock off their heads clean with a one swipe of a sword.
Mm.
Bunch of shit like that, but
Well, like when they're completely in the sand, but their head.
I think so. Something along those lines. Or maybe they were just on their knees. I don't know. I keep thinking of random weird shit that happened during that time, and I can't remember specifically. But I don't know. I mean, obviously, you could say the greatest change known to man was the atomic bomb. That's probably I can't think of anything more polarizing more than World War I. And then after that, I think the United Nations was that after World War I, World War II? I think it was after World War II that they made the UN.
No, UN I think was after World War I.
Was it?
I want to say
If they
so,
did, that was a
but
massive
actually no.
failure.
Okay. It's kind of always been a mess for me.
Yeah, it's never, and even to this day.
Any any united global shit, that's stupid.
And speaking of, I I don't know if you follow current events, and we can kind of leave it there. You know the shit about the pipeline that goes from somewhere in Scandinavia to Russia that got blown up.
Maybe.
So it was. This is. I mean, I think it's still pretty much going on. But back when I think it was a couple months ago, when the whole Ukraine war, people were starting to freak out about it. The news was starting to cover it every day again. This covering that this oil pipeline blew up, and no one knows who did it. But people speculate that it was our government that did it.
Oh, wait, yeah, I think I know. Yeah.
So, because I don't know why it would. I mean, it would make sense for Russia to blow up their own pipeline to start some mass fucking escalation, but it also would make sense for our government to do the same too, just because we fucking hate the Russians so bad. But I just think it's funny that if that is true, that nobody in the government can ever bitch about climate change or any sort of environmental thing ever again if they blew up a fucking oil pipe in the water.
Yeah, right, because that's like a that everyone loses.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just when you I mean World War II is more black and white, but I think it really is important because obviously history repeats itself. That's why you learn it. So we're going through similar shit today, and obviously no one knows who's the clear. I think it's a three-way tie of the worst superpowers dick teasing. So us, China, the Chinese, and Russians. So I don't think there's one. I mean, obviously Russia's probably the worst of them at the moment, but we definitely have our hands and all that kind of pie. So it's a little bit
Yeah.
more covert than overt. But I don't know, man. I guess I stopped learning about war because it just to me it's just like this could be reality really fucking soon, and it's so unnecessary.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah, no, that is true.
But but yeah, going back to the movie,
The topic at
the
hand,
topic at hand.
the intended topic at hand.
I don't know. I always the one thing I do like about these movies is I really try to put myself back in that time and try to figure out what I would do or what I would be or would I be the person that gets shot in the first 10 minutes of the movie or would I make it halfway through or make it through the whole movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I figured that like I would at least hang out until like the first like forest fight that they had. I feel like I'd probably die in one of those things because everybody's shooting at you from everywhere, so it's almost luck.
That's there's actually something that I really loved about Last Samurai, and I didn't like in this. I didn't like the action. I didn't like the way it was filmed. Um,
One other one part where they slowed the frame rate down, it was almost like it was in a dream like state. But I mean, the majority of it was a shooter. Last Samurai was more hand to hand combat, so it's going to be more interesting than shootouts.
well, I that is fair point. More so, I guess I'm referring to like the camera angles and like the techniques used. A big thing, not just about the action, about the movie in general. It felt so unnecessarily claustrophobic. I didn't like how many like not close-ups, but everything was shot so like tightly. I'm like, can you just zoom out a little bit? I don't know.
You can
like
see
like they
everyone's
never like
pores.
right. I'm like like it's never opening anything. There's no establishing kind of environment shots. Like I'd like to see those, Like there's no grand. I mean, obviously, not everything needs to be grand, but there's no like openness, I guess. Which that you don't have to be open, right? Like if you are going for for claustrophobia and like because it's like a horror movie, right? Like it's all about just that feeling of unease, right?
Right.
Of enclosed spaces, right? But I just think that that wasn't really the intention here, and that's just the it just I think it just didn't really work. I didn't like how the movie looked. There was some parts where I was like, yeah, I like the color palette, I like the snow, and so that looks pretty. But for the most part, it just looked kind of dull.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, they probably were claustrophobic. They're in the dense forests, and they're also like attacking at night or during the day. It's not like they're just strolling through this vast countryside because they didn't want to be out in the open. So I feel like it makes sense, I guess. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I didn't get a feeling of unease. I got a feeling um, of like something was impending. So it's like it's only a matter of time before everything just gets squeezed out, right? So that sort of claustrophobia where they're gonna get too many people. They're gonna eventually have to fight a force bigger than they're ready for, kind of thing. So like there's never a sense of a break, and I feel like they never really got a break. The only break I felt like was when they were celebrating the
Wedding, I
wedding,
guess. Yeah,
yeah. But then it was
which
also
not everyone even went to go like got to go
yeah,
to.
because
You
they
know,
they
'cause
they backed up those scenes with the brothers Zeus fighting the Germans. So
I really like that. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. I feel like maybe that's I'm not a cinematographer guy, but to me it would make sense if that's what they're going for because that's kind of the whole point of the story.
Right. That yeah, that does make sense. But I just think that the way it was done, it just like looks flat. Like the movie had like the way it looks, it just felt like it didn't have much style going for it.
I think it's because they like the majority of it was shot in the woods. It's kind of my same thing with this is a totally different type of movie, but the and obviously this was I don't know. People overhyped the shit of it. When I finally watched it, I was so pissed off because it was awful. Was the Blair Witch Project?
Like the original one.
Did they do a remake?
I want to say they did. I think it's just called Blair Witch.
Okay, well yeah, the original one. Like they shot it like a document. The whole entire movie is them walking through the fucking woods. Like that's literally the whole
Right,
movie, minus the beginning part. But it's just
and
like,
like
come
the
on.
end, they see some shit, right? Or
It's a fucking awful movie, and like from where because I've talked to people.
it's just a gimmick,
It
right?
was,
Like
but the problem was like I talked to people that are older than me. I was like, "Did you guys believe this was real back then?" Because that's the way they marketed it back in the day to get you to go see it in theaters. They portrayed it like it was a real story or something that actually
did they
happened. Yeah,
they actually said it was real?
they didn't. I don't think they exclusively came out and said it was real. They didn't say anything. They just made it seem like people thought it wasn't until they watched the movie. Like before they saw it in trailers, they thought it was an actual like documentary or like lost footage that was found because that's what they said in the beginning of the movie. They never said it was fictionalized, but I don't know how it was marketed. But apparently, people had the impression that it was semi-real at least. And then when they
I
saw the
see.
movie,
Like
they're like, "What the
there
fuck?"
was misled. Yeah,
I guess,
yeah.
but then I guess artistically misled or autistically, no matter your preference. I just thought it was fucking
Right.
retarded.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, this is what. So,
I've never seen it. I
it
don't
done.
really feel
It's
like seeing
fucking
it.
awful.
Right.
I even watched it
Um.
outside on a movie screen projector near the woods because we were getting in the mood to fucking, get scared and all that by the fire or whatever. And then it's just like, we're bored outside of a horror movie. That's so funny. So
Nice.
I think it's just the fact of like, yeah, they shot the majority of it in their little forest camp for the most part.
Yeah, and then but like, don't they say some shit at the end, or like, or it's not even worth it.
What?
Like, don't they see the witch at the end, or they see like a hand or something?
It's, yeah, I fucking, like I
Yeah,
said,
I
it's
can
just
tell you don't like
dumb.
this movie.
It's just dumb. I don't like, I get the documentary style, like that's cool or whatever. And apparently it was a style that, movies thereafter just copied to death, especially the
It's so
mockumentary.
bad. I hate that
Yeah.
style.
So I thought this was gonna be like the original one, like, oh, this is kind of like this will be a cool story, but like even the story was just like this is just dumb because they tried like the reason why it falls flat to me is like they tried to get actors to act like uninteresting regular people. So like you're watching this fake documentary about fake
Oh,
boring people in this
I
boring
thought
town in Maryland. Fucking and then it takes the whole movie to find this goddamn piece of shit fucking witch and the whole movie is just like noises happening or like they find weird symbols in the woods. Like it's just I can't even describe it. It's like it feels like a school project. It's like an independent film high schoolers made. It was really stupid.
Right, so like in that respect, it would have been awesome. But like because it's a mainstream like triple A so to speak movie,
Yeah.
then yeah, the standards are
Well, it's not even
a
that.
lot
It's like they
higher.
tried to make it real. Like they tried to make it seem like it was authentic, but they made it seem authentic by portraying the characters as like dumb fucking height. Like just the way they did it. They try to pray. They try to portray real life too realistically. It's like if I made a shitty, you know, project for film school and then some major, fucking studio tried to copy that to the T because they wanted to tell it
I
like
got
that.
you.
It just felt like that. It's just like I'm watching this fake, convincing documentary that's not convincing, and the story is not even that interesting.
Yeah, well, you're making it sound pretty bad and
I
not desirable to watch.
I dare you to watch it. I want you to
I
watch
don't
it.
feel like it.
I really
I,
want you. Now that I know that you're such a fucking Nazi with movies, I really want you to watch it.
all right. Only on the podcast though. I'm not just watching this on my own time.
No, no, no. This is gonna. This is for science.
But we're gonna do it for the podcast, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes,
Do it for
William.
the podcast, bro.
For
Do it for the podcast. Anything for the podcast.
God. Yeah, this is where I fucking
Yeah.
torture you. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as like you said, I like going back to Defiance. I like the colors of the movie. I didn't really get a sense of like I said, I don't really notice the cinematography that much unless it's really bad or I feel like it's really good. I feel like if it's if it's tolerable or if I don't notice it, then it's fine. But
Right, like it looks like a movie.
yeah, you know what I mean. Like
Okay.
it doesn't feel like it's shot
Yeah.
weird to me. I guess is what I'm saying. But my like I said, my
Like
only thing watching it back
Birdemic
was
or
the
something.
what?
Like Birdemic or something, where it's like the cinematography, or like Sharknado, where it's like
Yeah,
it's just the cinematography is so bad. Like,
I watched one called Llamageddon. It was like a killer llama horror movie. It was pretty great.
yeah, I
Or
have. There's like the whole.
Velocipaster.
Yeah, right. That one. There's like a whole like collection of like all of those awful like horror movies and like monster movies.
You know which one I
Like,
actually unironically enjoy? I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen Rubber?
nah, what? I don't think I've heard of that. What is that?
Rubber. So I usually don't like indie films, and this movie is shot like an indie film, but I actually kind of like it has some sort of charm to it. I can't explain it, but the storyline is incredibly retarded, but they did it in such a serious way that it makes it enjoyable. Because like they didn't go out of their way to make it stupid. The premise is stupid, but the actual execution was serious, which is really funny. It's so Rubber is about a sentient car tire that can make people spontaneously explode. So he's like a serial killer tire. It
It's funny.
sounds retarded, but it's a fucking great movie. It's so good
Okay.
because the way that
Okay.
it's shot, it's very artistic. It's not like you don't get a low budget feeling from this movie.
Okay, I'm willing to admit that I could be like, yeah, I like that about this movie.
Yeah, like, and I also haven't seen this movie in forever, so I hope my words have some, permanence in stone here. But I just remember being like, I don't want to watch this fucking stupid movie. Then like, this movie's actually not bad. Like, it's
Well, yeah,
just
like it exceeds your expectations.
yeah. And maybe that's because I liked it so much. But to me, like, it is shot like an indie film, so like the pacing and the dialogue is strange, and there's not that much of it. They really rely on the scenery and just it's shot in the desert, so it's like like the emptiness and the weirdness of the desert. That's kind of the theme of the movie.
I got you.
So it's shot like that, but I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, are there any other movies like that that like you thought you weren't gonna like, but then you did like?
Oh yeah, there's tons. Fuck man, put me on the spot. There was one, I can't remember I'm not even gonna go into because I can't even remember the full explanation of it. But yeah, there are a lot of movies that are like that, and I feel like those are the best. That I go into a movie like, oh, this is gonna suck, and then I really enjoy it. and a lot of the B-rated horror films are kind of like that. Man, I really wish I'm blanking here. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is another one I thought was gonna be awful, but I really like that movie. I know you didn't want to
Have
watch
you
it because it's not, but again, it was kind of the same premise. It was not really a low budget film. It was actually kind of a creative film the way that they did the special effects because a lot of it was hands on because it was done in the 80s. So it wasn't like cheap CGI.
eh, you know what? We can watch that.
So a lot of
If
those
if
type of
if you,
movies, yeah.
if you think there's that much to it, I'll watch it.
I think there's more to Rubber than there is to Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Um, Only because like the story, I don't know. I haven't seen both of them in a while, so I'm really trying to have a battle with myself if I really want to pretend to defend one movie over the other because they're both stupid premises. So watching them back, I can't remember which one would be a better movie, but Rubber is a more serious movie if that makes sense. I can't explain it.
Okay. Oh, do you like The Dark Crystal? Have you seen that?
Oh, sounds familiar. What's that about?
It's the Jim Henson movie with all the puppets and stuff, and it's in like it created like it's like its own
Oh
universe,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw
and
that long time.
it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really creepy,
Yeah.
like the stuff in it, and but the design of like the birds and all the things, like despite the main characters being like really boring,
Yeah.
everything outside of that, like I love the birds and all that stuff, and like those weird looking things with like the long wing stilt uh things for limbs. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I saw that when I was very young, and I don't remember the storyline, but I remember being simultaneously very infatuated with how everything looked and how cool and unique and never seen anything like this before it was. And then also how kind of almost like, I don't know if you get that feeling when you're a kid where you're very interested in things that make you kind of uncomfortable. Did you ever get that way?
Yeah, in a sense, like I
Yeah.
remember in. Have you seen the Never Ending Story?
Uh, yeah, sounds familiar, maybe.
Yeah, that movie had some really creepy stuff in it, which I thought was cool, or like it interests me
What was it
when I was a
about?
little kid. Oh, so it's about this kid. I think like he moves away, but then he goes to. I don't remember how he goes, but like he goes to like or he flies on that like that dragon thingy.
Oh, like the white dog looking dragon thing.
Yeah, and then he
Yeah.
goes to the wherever the fantasy land is, and then he meets like that kind of Indian boy, and then like the other girl, and then there's like the big turtle, the wolf thingy that's chasing the Indian guy, and all this stuff. Like
Yeah, I
it's
never
got a
saw it.
lot of it's got a lot of like dark imagery in it.
Yeah, and
Lots of
I
yeah,
liked
lot.
the darker imagery stuff as a kid, but I never really saw that movie. I don't know. Like I think it's because this is the inverse of like even if it's a bad story, I just love the creativity of this kind of stuff, or like I said, the way they do the art or the costumes or the setting. Because I think like that shit's not easy to do, and none of this is easy to do, which is funny. We're just chalking it down to personal preferences because it, you know, I've never,
Right.
besides music, I've never created something that I've devoted years of my life to. If you boil it down to a couple minutes, but stuff like the Dark Crystal, I like that. I feel like that era is kind of gone. I feel like everything looks the same now, or at least most things look like iterations of other things.
Right, like we're not gonna have that same kind of like unique universe again.
Yeah, and which is, I mean, I don't know if that's just the slave of time because the more shit, the more stuff and the amount of people that are able to create just keeps going up as the years go by. So, but I think just learning different cultures and watching different types of movies and shows and music from other places is more of a help because I feel like I've seen all I need to see in movies that are made in America. I feel like most of them are the fucking same. I haven't really been excited to watch any movie in I don't know, fucking 5 years maybe. I used to be excited to go see movies or really want to see a movie for the story, or same thing with books. But these days, it's just like, oh, I hope this isn't shitty. That's how I think about it. I'm not excited to see it. It's like, oh, I hope I didn't waste my money on this, or oh, I hope this is good. Just waste my time.
The last time that happened was The Northman.
I I liked that movie, and I watched it again. I didn't like it the second time I watched it.
Really?
Yeah, it was just
Okay.
the pacing of it was really fucking weird. Like it reminded me of
Interesting.
King Arthur, but I liked the fast pace of King Arthur better. If you ever saw that one, the soundtrack was really good in that
No,
movie
I
too. With Tom, I
I
think
know.
Tom Hardy was in it.
Yeah, I think he was like it was who's that main who's the main actor's name? Like Charlie what is his name?
I
Lankin like
I don't know.
Charlie Duff or
Charlie
I can't
Duff.
wait. That's not it. It's hold on.
He's trying to say Charlie Sheen and Hilary Duff.
No. King Arthur. Yeah.
I think it's Tom Hardy is the
Let me
main
see.
character, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
Charlie Hunnam. That's his name.
Oh,
Charlie Hunnam. Yeah.
I'm trying to see. I don't remember what he looks like. Oh, he was the main guy. I thought it was Tom Hardy. Never mind.
Yeah, they all look the same.
He does
He
look like
looks
Tom Hardy a
he
little bit.
looks a lot like him.
Yeah. Oh, Jude Law is actually in this movie. Jude Law
Yeah,
played
he
in
is.
this. Have you ever seen the movie Sky Captain and the Something of Tomorrow? Have you ever seen that movie? Did I ever talk about it
No,
on
I
here?
don't. I don't think you have.
So Jude Law, and this was like a um, it's almost placed like a World War II Sin City type of vibe. It's very it plays takes place in New York City, and he's like this fictional hero. And basically, this evil dictator was making these robots that he was trying to control the world with. So it was almost like a old, not comic book style, but it was a real live action. But it was kind of like an homage to the movies back in the day, where it was a very cheesy kind of villain. If you were to watch a movie back in that time, and you have like your heroic hero to save the day, and he was like a Spitfire pilot, or not Spitfire, but some World War II plane pilot, and he would just get called because he was part of this secret organization that tries to hunt the bad guys, kind of thing. But it was really cool the way that they shot the movie, and all like the technology and the planes and the robots and stuff like that. It was a great movie. Um,
Interesting. Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen The Running Man with Arnold in it?
no, I haven't, or I might
Do you
have.
know what the? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Maybe. What's that one?
It's really so it's about this guy who is falsely imprisoned and is falsely accused for like a crime he didn't commit, and it's posted all over like the media. Like it shows in the beginning what actually happened, and then you see how the media depicts what happens and how they edit certain things to look like something happened, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So then he's in prison, right? And they show, and but then the Running Man is like their annual contest that people bet on, where they take the prisoners and they get to compete in the game. And I want to say like the guy who wins gets to go free or something like that. But it's like just it's like a big kind of contest thing. Um,
I have.
I don't know
I've
what
seen it a long ass time ago. His movies are always hit or miss to me.
Jingle All the Way. I haven't seen that one. I love Terminator. I love what else is he in?
He was in the
Yeah,
original
wait.
Predator.
Oh yeah, that's right. I love that one. But what else is he in? I'm trying to remember.
He's in a fucking kindergarten cop. That's probably his worst movie.
I have not seen that.
Fucking awful.
I don't know if that's worth seeing.
Probably not.
Wait, I can't. I'm blanking on what Arnold is in. Hold on. I do think Terminator is his best. Like it fits him so well.
Yeah. I don't know, like, again, he's one of those people that just got really famous for no fucking reason. Like, I feel like if he didn't do Terminator, and if that wasn't such a huge blockbuster movie, he would
I
not.
mean, he was already famous from like the bodybuilding.
You know, he's already famous. I'm saying just his, like, the amount of dumb shit that he did for roles, and just, like, the amount of
Yeah,
quotable, like, stuff that he was in for movies. I think if he didn't do Terminator, then he probably wouldn't have as long as a career as he had, and and he might have still ran for
Oh,
the governor of California, but I don't know.
he did Commando.
Oh, that's
I
right. I
haven't seen
remember
that, but
Commando. That
I
was I
want
didn't
to
like
see
it.
that.
It was kind of just. It reminded me of a fucking Steven Seagal action movie. And I don't know if you know this about me. I fucking hate Steven Seagal, and just as an actor, as a person, just his entire
I've never seen any of his movies, so I don't know
oh
anything about him.
fucking dude. Just go watch Tom Segura's comedy special about fucking Steven Seagal, and that's all you need to know about him. He's just awful.
Huh.
He's just a fraud, and he's one of those. He's the stereotypical actor that thinks he's actually good at a lot of things in real life when he's not. He's such oh god, dude. I can go on for fucking hours. I just can't stand him in general in anything.
I got you.
And that's what Commando reminded me of was a fucking Steven Seagal movie. But
Nice.
on the other aspect of that kind of like, over the top ridiculousness, one of my favorite movies of all time is the remake of Mad Max.
Fury Road.
Yeah, I fucking love that movie for some reason.
I don't like that movie as
Why?
much as no. I like the movie. I didn't finish my sentence. I don't like that movie as much as I thought I should have liked it. It felt like it had everything going for it. I don't know, something about it. I just felt like kind of dragged later in the movie. But like, other than that, no, I think the action is awesome. I love that aesthetic, like that wasteland, like there's no civilization anymore.
Yeah.
And there's the costumes and just how it was nuts. Like there's just that guy playing guitar
Yeah,
on
he's on
top of
top
it.
of the fuck. He's like on like suspension. He's just playing guitar on top of the fucking car, and there's loudspeakers, and there's people drumming and shit. I watched it with my dad, and he thought that was just the dumbest shit ever.
But no,
It's so
that
good.
I thought was awesome. Man, I loved like the all of just like those chase scene. I mean, I know the whole movie is just like a big chase scene, but like man, that was some awesome shit. And like the cinematography with like all those the dust storms and like the way it showed
Yeah.
the vast like dunes was really cool.
Yeah, see, that to me, and I think is what I would call an example of a really beautifully shot movie, very creative movie. Obviously, like, because like you
Exactly,
can take
exactly.
something as empty as a fucking wasteland, but you make it so creative in the way you do everything, and that's part of the reason why I hated Dune. I cannot get into Dune because
Is it does it it doesn't look uh, beautiful in that sense? Like it just looks kind of dull and
it kind of does. It's dull. Like I don't know if it's the colors or like I also hate the story too. I think the story's fucking boring. There's no interesting characters and the same thing with the book. I remember I had a fucking ex and I was telling her the same thing where it's like I can't get into books and she was trying to get me back into reading, so she made me read Dune. I literally couldn't get past the second page. I was like, this is fucking boring. They're already making up words that I have to know what they mean because they're specific to the story. It's just like I don't want to fucking put any brain power to memorizing. It's like I can't get into Dune. It sounds like a story I'd like, but it's just the movie was really fucking boring. It was way too long. Whereas
it's
Mad
cool. I like all the promotional material for it. I bought the DVD. I never watched it yet.
Yeah, like
Um,
the way they marketed it and the way they portrayed everything, I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. Like I know I
it
couldn't.
looks like a good movie. Like I love the costumes. Yeah, no, I mean I haven't seen it yet, and I love the director. The director is fantastic.
Honestly, the worst part's the
Um,
dialogue. Like it's just fucking.
I believe you told me that at one point.
It's like
Yeah,
the young adult dialogue. It's like
right.
worse.
But
It's worse than the Hunger Games, pretty much.
but like the way I see from like the promotion, which it just looks like it's so much like it's beyond that. It doesn't. I mean that's just me. Hopeful. I don't know.
What's it?
What's up?
Well, I was just gonna say like the difference between Dune and Mad Max is Dune is just like okay, I can't get into this story. This is just a movie. But when I watch Mad Max, it's like I see all this ridiculous shit, and I want to be in the movie. Like I want to be there where they're at.
Right.
Especially how they made like the home base look, the massive cliffs and
Yeah.
waterfalls, and all the people moving around and shit with the wheels. But
Yeah, and the
sorry, I'm so
costume design,
yeah,
all those like minion guys, and like that king, he looked so. I loved that way he looked. How he had that like kind of respirator on.
Yeah.
That was
And the
awesome, man.
action was
Like
really
just
cool in every scene that they did.
yeah, yeah, it was.
The other thing too, this is the really fucking dumb, but I don't know why. Like the symbol where they do like the V8 where they put their hands together, so it's like eight fingers in the shape of a V. It's just like it's such a simple concept. Also, it's like who the fuck would take the time to think about doing something like that?
Yeah.
Or like they would spray the fucking like chrome spray paint on their mouth to get them crazy into battle mode.
Yeah, I want that. Yeah, no, like that stuff. I love all that.
Yeah.
Where like it, or like kind of like how Spirited Away does, where it just literally it doesn't explain anything.
Yeah, it
It
just does
just
it.
kind of just shows you, and you're like, huh, I wonder what this is. Like it doesn't like the chemicals from the metallic paint bind to form, and I'm like,
Yeah.
just show me the guy spraying the other guy's face with this paint. I'll just roll with it, okay?
Yeah,
You
and
know?
I think that's another cardinal sin with Dune is because they
Oh,
didn't
does it
they
do
just tried
that?
yeah, and that's why I
Ooh.
couldn't get into the book because they just forced all this sci-fi language that they made up that you have to follow. And the same thing in the movie, they over explained everything, every single aspect they explained as opposed to it's just like they tried to everybody's trying to do the Harry Potter thing. They're trying to force a universe onto you and it just doesn't work. Or Star Wars or whatever, popular universe you can think of. Everybody's trying to copy that so they can fucking do the Marvel thing and make shitty movies for 20 fucking years.
Yeah. Um Yeah, I think Star Wars was like the first one of those.
Or probably Tolkien. I'd say Tolkien is probably the first. Although the movies didn't come out till later, but just like as a universe and a story, probably right.
Oh yeah, that's true. Tolkien's he started that concept of like there's more to like there's more works of the story within this book I wrote outside of this book and stuff like that, and I'm gonna flesh out this whole entire world and history and everything. Yeah, you're right in that sense.
And then I guess
I
Lovecraft
was
was
only
the father of all science fiction.
right.
And they're like read.
Um,
I never read anything. I didn't really care enough to.
I didn't either. Sorry, I'm tired.
Well, if you didn't start so fucking late,
I know, but I was tired pretty much like there's nothing much I could do.
I get it, man.
Work.
It's been a long week. It's been a
It
long fucking week.
has.
But, um, but yeah, I mean, original movies are hard to fucking do, and
Oh,
just I don't know.
yeah. It's just, I mean, especially the way stuff works now. Like, who is going to see? Like, it doesn't work at all.
Yeah, and I find myself, what obviously shows dominate, especially, COVID.
Oh yeah, like it really took over. Cause it's like, right? Cause like movies like make less and less money as it is. So it's like, why would you even roll the dice? Whereas like you just have to keep playing safe and safe and safe.
Yeah. And I remember back in the day when Hulu used to be free and you could watch it with ads. And
Oh,
like I would watch so much cool shit, like shows I've never seen before, and all the shows I was not allowed to watch that came on a specific time on TV. I could just watch it wherever I wanted on my laptop. So all the South Park, King of the Hill, all that shit that I couldn't watch as a kid. I could just like I have the power, the like Hulu felt like it was the first autonomous thing I could watch besides YouTube of shit I wasn't supposed to.
YouTube is the original though in that respect.
Dude, I remember people showing me because back, I don't know, do you remember? I'm blanking on. It's always weird talking to people younger than me because I'm always used to talk to people older than me, and they're always just like, I don't understand your generation, and did you have this when you were younger? But this back when YouTube was first starting, and you could what like they didn't monitor it as much as they do now, but like you could see you can see motherfuckers cutting their heads off, and shit on YouTube.
When was this?
Oh, this is like 2006, to like 10 maybe. I don't know, somewhere around there.
Oh, right. I mean, that makes sense. It's harder to like moderate all that stuff.
Yeah, but like people said some pretty, or people showed some pretty insane shit. There was like a girl that like ate her own tampon, or like fucked a dog. It was fucking crazy in the wild west
Man.
of the web. But yeah, I remember my I had a bunch of older friends in the neighborhood, and they always would show me the fucking like the weirdest shit that I felt uncomfortable because I knew I was gonna get in trouble for watching.
Yeah, we all know that feeling.
Or you're too young to fucking go through this trauma of like showing like two girls one cup or one guy one jar, all that bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
God, dude.
I'm uncultured, Jason.
Well, this is not bad stuff to be uncultured from because it's fucking
Right
gross.
there.
It's fucking
Yeah,
really gross.
there's good stuff to be uncultured from.
And it
Fred.
blows my mind because like like me as a 16-year-old, I would not show a 12-year-old like a fucking dude sticking a jar up his ass. Like I would not like
Is that what he does?
yeah, and he breaks it. There's also
Uh,
yeah, there's
okay,
also the
that.
Pain Olympics too. But yeah, two. I mean, obviously, you know what two girls in one cup is, right?
No.
God, it's like two girls shitting in a cup and like sharing it, and, like eating it, and, and they're forced to eat it.
Mm, man.
Yeah, dude, it was really gross fucking shit. Or the one I saw was like cartel members cutting people's heads off with chainsaws and shit.
So it was basically like just any of the other like fucked up stuff you could see on the
Yeah,
internet.
the most depraved thing you can think of, and like older kids showing, yeah, because I thought it was cool. So it's like when I was 16, I would not show a fucking like I said, 12-year-old all that bullshit. Like for what reason?
Right, exactly.
Like you could probably
Exactly.
catch a charge like that these days and fuck around with minors.
Yeah, that's for
Fuck.
exactly.
Oh, my mom
Yeah,
was
like I
so
don't.
pissed. I remember I can't remember how young I was, but one of my because like I said, I hang out with all the older kids in my neighborhood, and one of them dared me to ask my mom what a blowjob was. And so when I don't remember this, my mom told me this. I have no memory of this. So I went and I asked her for one because they told me to ask her for one. And so she was like, "Who the fuck told you that?" And I told him, and like she like grabs my arm and marches me down to the fucking cul-de-sac and starts screaming at all the other kids.
Oh
This,
wait, you didn't know what it was?
apparently not. I don't even remember this happened. I must have been like 7 or 8 or something or 9. My mom would let me play in the because like the cul-de-sac was near our house, so like all the neighborhood kids would just go play in the cul-de-sac, and the parents would kind of like loosely watch them and shit. You know, kids do.
Right. That's funny, man.
Yeah, but it's like I just can't imagine doing that shit to younger kids now. Like you can get in so much fucking trouble.
Yeah. Ah, man. I I remember videos on YouTube could only be like 15 minutes long. Like you couldn't do anything past that.
I don't remember that. Was that the
I
case?
wonder how much. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure like they could only be 15 minutes long.
That might have been true. I don't for some reason I don't remember that. I remember it took fucking ever to upload the shit, so like it just took way too much data, or not data, like way too much storage. It's kind of like the same premise where you try to text somebody a picture, it's too fucking massive and they don't know how to do without severely compressing the shit out of it. So I think that might have been the reason because 15 minutes was, I guess, too much. I don't know for their servers to handle, but
Could have been. I wonder how much that changed the YouTube culture. Like being able to make videos longer than 15 minutes.
I don't know. But I remember watching really stupid skits that people would do. Remember this? Did you have the skit era like Niga Higa and all that shit, or Shane
I really
Dawson?
like Nigahiga. Shane Dawson's annoying.
But he used to do
Um,
skits back in the day. He didn't like commentate or did like whatever the fuck. I don't even know what he does now. But he used
no,
to make like really cringy skits.
yeah, but I never thought he was funny.
I didn't
Whereas
either,
like,
but he was like, there's only a couple shit to watch on YouTube. Like whatever was trending is what you watched, unless you wanted to search up shit that your friends made or whatever. Because like you actually like viewed the homepage. I don't think they had an algorithm to track what you watched to recommend you new shit like they do now. I'm pretty sure you just watched what the most popular thing was, and I think Ray William Johnson was the first, I would say, YouTube viral celebrity, maybe, or maybe it was Smosh. I can't remember, but like
You
that
could make
era.
the case. Yeah, I know that era of YouTube.
Um,
Or like what is it? Oh, X Jaws. That was like that first big like Call of Duty YouTuber.
I don't remember extras. I remember was it? I can't remember. Was Machinima? Because that was Halo. Machinima did Red versus Blue, the Halo
I want to
shit.
say so. Yeah,
But there
where it
was,
has like 15 seasons of that.
yeah, it was really stupid. I used to
I
watch.
never, yeah.
There's a guy. He used to make RuneScape skits. He would like play the game, and he would just make really stupid stories on RuneScape. I watched the shit out of those. Um, what else was there, man? There was so much fucking bullshit on YouTube. I was just watching, like, obviously the animators, all the weird animations that people would make on YouTube. I watched all those too. All this bunch of shit.
Fred.
I did watch Fred. I saw all the movies too.
Oh,
I don't know why. I always thought Fred was annoying, but I couldn't stop watching. Like, there's just, it kept me
I
just enough
actually,
entertained.
I don't have bad memories of Fred. I remember Fred being pretty funny.
Which was weird. I never thought he was funny. I just thought he was like, this is so stupid, but I could not stop watching. I saw all the movies. I was like, oh god, another Fred movie, and I watched all of them.
No, I heard like like one of the movies got like really experimental, and like Fred had like visions of like these people were turning into bugs or something and like eating him.
Yeah, I think that was the last one.
Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. I want to watch that. But
But yeah, I think like there's a certain, because the reason I think why I liked it as a kid and why I liked a lot of those YouTube or shorts in general was because they all had that sense of your parents aren't around and you're creating your own universe. So like you got to watch what other people's universes were, kind of thing.
that's
So
a
like,
good way to look at. Yeah,
so I like when people would make up like the animations or the stories, or like Fred, he was just a guy that he would make up a whole storyline of stuff that never happened, but it was him by himself mostly going around to different places, just doing random shit. So it's like I think I could get like relate to it on that aspect of just, going out and doing my own little adventures.
yeah. Uh,
But I feel like it was a really weird time to grow up.
it is. I mean, look at where we're at now and what it's done to us.
Fuck, man, we're so goddamn fucked. But it was fun back
Yeah,
then. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah. Thank you, Fred.
What the fuck does he even do now? He probably makes music, or he's a vlogger now or some dumb shit.
What is it like Lucas or whatever is his name?
I think it's, yeah, Lucas Crenshaw. That's his name. I don't know why I
Let
remember
me
his name.
see. Okay, Fred Figglehorn Wiki. I'm on right now. Okay, he's portrayed by Luke. Yeah, Lucas Crinkshank.
It's Crenshaw. It's not.
Crinkshank. Yeah.
Oh, I guess it's his actual name. What the? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is Crenshaw. You're right. I don't know why I thought it was
So
Crenshaw.
Lucas Crinkshank.
Dude's 29.
Okay, I thought he was older than that. For some reason, I thought he would have been older than that.
I don't know. I always thought he was around our same age when I was a kid. You always think that like all the older people or teenagers are your age.
That's weird. Yeah, I
Like you're
forget how
watching
old I
Disney
am now.
Channel at 12, you're like, yo, I'm gonna look like that in 3 years. Like, no, you're not.
Nah. Well, yeah, because they're all like 20.
Yeah, I remember being so excited to go to high school because, like, dude, I'm gonna fucking be so cool. I'm gonna do all this cool shit. I'm gonna have this spiked hair and play instrument. Like, no, you're fucking
No.
no. I don't have a stylist in
Expectation.
high school. I'm gonna be I just assumed I was automatically gonna develop a style in high school.
Yeah, and that's what I hate about TV and movies is that it just completely like just distorts our reality and puts us into the cave. Like literally, it puts us into Plato's cave to an
I
extent.
honestly don't have a problem
Not
because I understand that as an
not
adult.
completely, but right. Not completely, like I said, but
I feel like the adults that don't go out of the cave, they expect real life to mimic, entertainment. They're fucking retarded. But as a kid, you grow out. You kind of have to grow out of that. You understand what's reality and what's not. and you escape with your entertainment. You don't fucking make it your personality.
Right. But I think a lot of people just really confuse that
Yeah,
because
I
it's
know.
like,
Never grew up, I guess.
right, and I'm like, TV still at the end of the day is not real life.
No, it never was ever like, and this is obviously the media is doing a better job at that, creating a false fucking sense of reality. But I never understood why people were so quick to blame entertainment. I never want like looking back as an adult when I watch this shit now, especially having like the understanding like it's not supposed to reflect real life. All the scenarios and all the sitcoms were ridiculous. They weren't supposed like they're supposed to be absurd. Why could you watch that as an adult and feel like, oh, this is going to be influencing to kids when they grow up? It's like, no, like, unless they're brain dead, like most
I'm
people are.
not like those crazy situations like you're talking about. More so, I'm just talking about like just the way that like it depicts like relationships and like
Yeah, but
the
they're all
way.
ridiculous. They're obviously some of them
Not
had
always.
messages and they try to implant serious messages, but like, who the fuck has an hour to wake up and go on an adventure before you have to go to school? Like, obviously, it's not meant to be fucking real. You know what I mean? Like it's supposed to like not everything is a dialogue. There's no time to rest. You know what I mean? Like it's not supposed to represent real life. It's supposed to be an absurd escape version of real life. It's like,
Right.
like Malcolm in the Middle. Like that's not supposed to represent real life.
Right. But I think, well, not all of them are like obviously just outlandish, but I still think that just the over presence of it, I guess, is something that needs to be taken into account.
I think the biggest problem, and
Um,
this is more for like the whole violent video games and the violent music, blamed for Columbine or whatever fucking
I
atrocity,
well,
right?
I wouldn't really, I wouldn't be quick to blame that.
No, but
I
that
mean,
was the biggest thing back in the day. Like you
you can
could
make the case.
no,
I
like
mean,
that was real. Like the news, like they basically said like
well, I know they did. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
So,
not.
but what I'm saying is like
That's
it's the
not what I'm
same sort
arguing.
of it's but it's the same parallel because you look at something like if you're a well adjusted person, you can fucking view all that shit and still have a sense of ground, right? If you're unstable or you're fucking mouth breather, then you get lost in the entertainment and then you conflict it with real life, and then that causes problems with your real life relationships. Like when I the one thing I do remember as a kid when I was watching all that shit, I was I was excited to like be that, but I knew that it wasn't fucking real the way they portrayed. Like I never thought it was real life. I just assumed that this is an iteration of what would happen to me when I reached that age. But obviously, no.
Yeah, no.
But no, I didn't
Okay,
think all that shit was
I
gonna
see where you're
happen to
getting
me.
at.
You know what I'm saying? So like I was influenced by like the clothes and the culture and all that shit and like, oh, I would be this cool when I'm in high school. I didn't think like stuff on sitcoms would happen to me when I grow up. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have that
I
distorted
see.
sense of reality
Okay.
even as a
Okay, I
kid.
guess in that way you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why I don't buy this premise that like, oh, it's so easy to get lost in the media. It's like just fucking have some sort of self discipline or don't ban the shit. Explain, like I said, I'm more for explaining. So if you tell your kids not to do something, if you can't explain why, then you probably should just not fucking make it a rule in the first place. You know what I mean? Unless there's inherent harm that something causes. Like if I let my kid watch the Disney Channel, right, and they're putting some bullshit pandering message, I'm not gonna not let my kid watch that because like if I ban it, then it's just gonna be more fucking interesting and like, oh, why'd you ban it? Like, well, I don't agree with the messaging, or like, why don't you agree with the messaging? Then we can fucking talk about it, right? So it's like I don't see
Well, if you have
the
a if you have a legitimate, like you said, if you know how to answer the question, obviously, yeah, and like that's the parenting decision you want to make. That's great, right? But like you said, like if you're not sure, then maybe you should rethink about, you know,
well, it's like
um,
like playing dress up, right? So it's like if you honestly believe you're a fucking Viking or a witch or whatever the fuck, then yeah, you probably
well
shouldn't
that
play dress up.
I mean you'll grow out of that. It's just that's a
But some
phase.
people don't. Like that's what I'm saying. So some people will just go their whole lives because they don't have a personality that they've created, so they have to latch on to entertainment, and that's how their sense of reality gets distorted. So it's like if I
Well,
can tell
that
my kid
I
has a
guess
problem.
that's more what I was getting at with like the way it just kind of it has like made a net like it's like how do I say like the our lives are at like a net worse, I guess, overall because of that.
But like again, it's the same. And obviously, my objective answer to this question I'm about to pose is, who's more at fault? Obviously, if you're preying on a very specific type of the demographic that you're trying to exploit, then yeah, it should be more of your fault. But if you're trying to make something that's outlandish just for entertainment purposes and you get demonized because people can't handle that, whose fault really is that more? Because obviously, there's things that are more exploitative in nature, but like I don't know. It's just I hate the concept that we're so malleable that we can't handle a fake portrayal of something's. You know what I mean? So it's one thing if it's propaganda,
That's a fair point.
like
Yeah.
if you're taught like clear propaganda in schools, that's different because that's meant to simulate real life when it's not. But if you can't look at something that's not real, that's not trying to be real, and you can't decipher between those two, then you probably need more, counseling and discipline in your life than watching a fucking TV show or a movie. Like you need to do some fucking work. Like you're
Yeah,
probably not stable in
that's
your other relationships or a job or anything.
right. Yeah, that's like my biggest problem I have with universities. It's like it's not that they're left wing, right? That's whatever. But the problem is like universities pride themselves on like, we're not teaching you how to think. We're giving you the tools to think for yourself, right? But that's not what they do because they just force people to believe in all of these nonsensical ideas or whatever. They force you to believe even if you like you think that these ideas are good, bad, true, false, whatever. They literally just like force you to believe in these ideas without even like showing the other side of the argument, you know? Because it's like, and then in turn give the student like, like teach them how to think about this and how to like analyze something and make a conclusion on your own, right? They don't do that. That's what universities used to do, right? And that's what they used to be great at doing, I'm sure. But like now, it's not the and it's like I said, it's not that they are saying these things that I personally don't agree with based on my religious observation and whatnot. It's just the problem that they're not giving people who do believe in things that I do or have a certain outlook on life as I do a chance, right? That's how I see it.
Here's the thing though, and obviously this is going to be very like I think the topic of universities is really boils down to what school you go to and what your degree is in because I I have to say, and I've taken a lot of classes at community college, and I've taken a lot of because I've changed my major a million fucking times before I dropped out. I've taken a shit ton of classes, and I did all of them part time. So I always did uh, fall, winter, spring, and summer, whatever. I did all the semesters because like I couldn't afford to just take a break. I took but I took a bunch of different classes, and I can't think of a class where I took and it was obviously like you could tell like most of the people in the class were probably left leaning more so than the rest of them, but I took a lot of business classes, I took economics classes, and a lot of those were pretty neutral, and I would probably guess that the majority of the professors were at least more conservative in those type of degrees. But I had one professor that was more left leaning he was a zoology teacher, but like it never went down to like personal discussions. It was always just whatever the curriculum that you're learning. So like I never took, a highly specialized English class or a gender studies or anything where those types of discussions would come up. Obviously, like that matter kind of comes in, especially with I took world business. So like we were talking about the different government structures and economic structures of different countries, and people have their ideas, and we would do like little debates, but it was never taught that way. We always just learned about, especially in economics. It was never like a capitalism versus communism thing. It was just like we learn like specific models of shit, right? So I think it just depends on where you go and what your degree is. And obviously, if you get a useless liberal arts degree, that's all the shit you're going to talk about all fucking day because there's nothing else useful to learn. But if you take any sort of science, any sort of business, math, engineering, whatever, like a lot of that stuff is not even discussed in the classroom.
Well,
So
the problem is like not like most people like it's just like they're getting less and less of those degrees and more of the stuff that's bullshit. It doesn't matter.
right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's not the university's fault. That's just the people that fucking go there, and also it's the fact that like they don't get punished for. Because I remember, and I don't know if this is like I said, from when I went to college, it seems like nobody really gave a shit. Nobody was ultra sensitive in any of my classes. Like people would have disagreements, but it never got like racial or anything like that. Obviously, people.
Well, I really think well so you went to Nova, right?
I went to Nova first, and then I went to George Mason. But
But
what?
even so, I feel like the experience would be much different at, like a state college because like those
Well,
two are
Mason is
much
a state
smaller
college.
and
Mason's not. Mason is a state college.
well, you know what I mean though, like those big like football schools and whatnot.
Mason is a basketball school. I don't know your point. All right, so
I guess.
here's my point. My point is it depends on like what degree. I guess. Hold on, let me finish what I was saying before. What I'm saying before is like when I was in before I got to college, I remember our teachers were saying we're not allowed to discuss our political opinion. We're supposed to present information in a neutral, unbiased way, right? And then you can engage in discussion as long as it's civil. That's kind of been really the theme. But I think nowadays the problem is they don't give a shit about people having political opinions, so they won't fire professors that do that shit. Like obviously they'll, and it's I've never had a really major left leaning teacher professor or a really major right leaning professor, and they probably have that's how they were in their personal lives, but they've never kind of brought that into the classroom. Just that's been my experience, but. I feel like the fact that like they can't fire a teacher for saying a public talking point that most people agree with, like on abortion or Black Lives Matter, anything like that. So if they say something that the majority accepts as truth, they're not gonna like let somebody go because of that. So I think it's the fact that like they don't care about presenting information unbiased anymore. You can say whatever the fuck you want, really. You can't get fired for it unless you say something insensitive.
All right, because all that stuff is just
Yeah.
dogmatic.
Unless you have tenure,
Right.
because it's really hard to fire you. So like the professors that have tenure really don't give a fuck.
What does that mean?
Tenure is where you've been working a certain amount of years and you have special protections that prevent you from getting fired. So you'd
Hmm.
have to fuck up like I think you'd have to like break a law to get fired kind of thing. I don't know.
Or like be a like creep or something like that.
Something really bad, I think. But like cuz there's a economics professor that got in trouble for making some Jewish things, but the university can't fire her because of her tenure. So there's a bunch of protests about it. So
Like
stuff like
now.
this was semi recently, I think, but I mean that's what tenure is you I don't know the number of years, but it's a specific number of years that allows you some protection.
I think it's 10 years, hence the name.
You know what? I hope it's let's see how long it might be different.
That's not enough, bro.
It might be.
In
Let's
order to
see
get
how
in order
long.
to get you like all that protection, it's got to be more than that.
What it might be different from whatever the contract is. From school to school, it might be a different amount of years to get tenure. I don't know, but I think tenure lasts until you. I don't think there's a specific amount of time once you have
Oh,
it
it's like being pope.
until you die, bitch.
Yep. Dude, Pope Francis is not doing well.
Oh, is he not?
No, I think they had to take out one of his lungs. I think he literally only has one lung.
I've not heard any news about that. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, he's the Pope. Like, I mean,
Well, I see her news about
that's
the Pope all the
serious.
time.
Wait, what's up?
I see her news about the Pope all the time. If he breathes, is like, oh, this is what the Pope did today. He's like, I don't give a shit.
The Pope breathes. Nice. I remember that. I think the Pope said he liked The Simpsons or something. Like the Pope Francis has said a bunch of like random stuff.
He's like The Simpsons.
Yeah, I think he said he like that's like his favorite show or something.
I
I'm
remember,
just, I'm just sorry. Just imagine the Pope like just sitting there.
they have a lot of Catholic jokes in The Simpsons, so I feel like it'd be funny to have Pope like it's Pope Francis reaction channel on YouTube reaction to Catholic jokes from The Simpsons. That'd be pretty. I'd watch it.
I would too.
Um,
I love how The Simpsons depicts Catholic versus Protestant heaven.
oh, that was funny. Yeah, I do remember that.
I like that because it actually showed that Catholic heaven was better.
The funniest thing I remember, speaking of Protestant Evan, when I was younger, I didn't remember fucking any of the sermons because most of them were really boring. But the one I do remember was the pastor was talking about Ned Flanders specifically and like his role in The Simpsons as like the laughing stock of the show, where he's just like a goody two shoes Christian, and they were basically like the whole hour or however long the fucking thing was just praising the qualities that Ned Flanders had and how he was depicted in this show. It was just really bizarre because like he's the butt of the joke in the show, but like they took the time out of the day to put in the sermon how he's actually has a lot of redeeming qualities and how he was accurately portrayed in the show despite being the butt of the joke, which is really interesting.
Wow. I like The Simpsons though.
I haven't seen it in
It,
forever. I like the
or like
Simpsons movie.
the first. Yeah, I heard that's good. I haven't seen it. I
Oh,
really like the first couple seasons of The Simpsons. That's pretty good.
yeah. I think my
I love.
favorite depiction of Catholics is South Park. I think they do fucking
What is it? Oh yeah, with the priest with the vacuums and
yeah, the
stuff.
comeback.
What else have they I know like they make fun of like Christianity in general. I don't know. I've seen that one because I know that one's like specifically targeted towards like the Catholic Church. But like, what else have they done? Do you know, if any?
They did one, I can't remember. They did one where the Easter bunny actually has significance in the Catholic Church. I can't remember the God, it's been a fucking long time since I've seen it, but they don't depict Jesus as like a they kind of depict him as you would expect. Like they don't really, besides like the fact that he, not the episode where they said that he was on performance enhancing drugs and that he made all the shit up, like
That was funny. Yeah.
not that, but like the earlier versions of him were just like he's godly and he's holy kind of thing. That he wasn't really, he would just say kind of funny things. I think the best funny depiction of Jesus is Family Guy, where like he's like a guy that can't get a date.
I don't. I'm not familiar. I'm familiar with the God being autistic,
Oh yeah, and like there's
but
still
I'm not
handicap
familiar
spots in
with it.
heaven. You have to
Yeah.
bring your towels when you die.
Um,
Um, yeah, but there was I can't. I'm trying to remember. Fuck, man. They made a whole Easter special about how the fuck, man. I wish I could fucking remember. My brain is just going to mush. Or Randy thinks that
yeah.
the joke was like Randy thinks that the story of the Easter Bunny like is real, and so the whole family is making fun of him because of that. But apparently, like the Catholic Church also thinks that the Easter Bunny story is real, about like how the Easter Bunny comes and colors eggs and shit, stuff like that.
I mean, I don't think it is, but
Hmm?
I mean, I don't think that's the case. But
No, obviously, no. That's the joke.
according to the episode,
I
is
think
what you're
so.
saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like the what the fuck. I think I can't even remember. I'm not even gonna pretend like I remember. It's been so fucking long. But basically, it's the story of like the actual Easter Bunny in the Catholic Church. You know what I mean? It's not just like the story of like Jesus's the
I
resurrection.
see. Is that the performance enhancing drug? That was fun. That was funny.
The part that was really lame, and that's the part that I don't like, is and the fact that the South Park probably don't like that either, where it's like they were forced to censor Muhammad, so they mug and walk around like a censor bar just because they kept getting death threats and
But
protests.
then, but then didn't they get like a like they made an episode making fun of that?
Yeah, they made a whole episode making fun of every religion and every celebrity.
Like they were all censored or whatever.
No, only Muhammad was censored. Like that's why they did the whole thing where they made fun of him super fucking hard because like Comedy Central would not allow them. Like that was their line. Like they were not allowed to make fun of Muhammad or depict him. I think it was like they were not allowed to depict him because like it would cause too much shit.
Right, because they got death threats.
Yeah, so like that was the whole fucking point.
Right.
And I can't remember. I believe there's a lot of controversy around it. I think they decided to do it anyway, and Comedy Central just made the censor bar or they made them do it. I can't. It was one of the two, or they just. I can't remember if they did it for a joke, but I think they originally did do it, but then it was so bad that they made them censor Muhammad. So there's literally a censor bar walking around.
Yeah.
It's
And
so retarded.
either way, it's funny.
Yeah. Oh fuck.
I'm looking up. When I look up South Park Muhammad, what comes up? It's
There's
just
one reason
censored.
a
Yeah.
yeah. There's one censor. There's one reason a bear suit.
Or there's one here. Yeah, he's just looks like some Middle Eastern dude.
Yeah. So this is what he originally looked like before they did the censor bar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Muhammad.
It's not like he was portrayed that
Oh,
ridiculous. He just looks like a regular fucking guy. Like they didn't even
the
make
way
fun.
they get the the way they depict Osama bin Laden. Okay, that I can see how people would be offended.
Yeah, but who gives a shit? It's Osama bin Laden. It's like if they did
I know,
if they
but
depicted Muhammad like that, I feel like it'd be way worse. But like they just made him look like he was a regular guy, like a regular character in the show. It wasn't even like a
yeah, he just
ridiculous caricature.
right like Jesus too. He's just Jesus, literally as if he was a South Park character.
Exactly. Yeah, he's not portrayed in some ridiculous fashion.
Yeah,
They got so much shit for it. It's so stupid.
yeah. No, but like think about Osama bin Laden is like he looks like a nice dude. He just looks like a chill, like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, he looks like a dude to go talk to. Just
He
sit and
looks
tell you
cool. He looks
stories around
yeah,
the campfire.
yeah, he looks friendly. Oh,
God.
yeah. Also, he has a cool turban. That's also points in Will's heart and mind.
Are you sad you can't walk around with a turban?
Well, I can if yeah, I'm wearing, if I can say like, oh, it's for Halloween or oh, it's for this or for that. Which I mean, I don't have many of those situations, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of yeah, no, I am kind of mad because I want to just wear my sutla, but I can't. So, I mean, if I lived in like a Mizrahi Jewish neighborhood, obviously, yeah, I guess I would wear it just because everyone else is wearing it. I mean, then again, like it's like my sister says this about like my dad wearing lederhosen. She's like, if you're just wearing something like if you're wearing tribal clothes, so to speak, and you're not among or like if you're not in the presence of or a member of the tribe, it's just kind of inappropriate.
Yeah, and that's why that's why I mean if you're an American, just fucking don't even touch that shit with a 10-foot pole. Just fucking just just and I don't know. I mean, we've gone into fucking nauseum about trying to represent other cultures when you're a fucking American.
Yeah, we're really terrible at doing that.
I don't know. Like the whole cultural appropriation thing. It's like I feel like that really only comes down to if you're making money off of something, claiming it to be original, or if you're stealing something flat out. But like, I don't think. Obviously, it's cringy, but like I just don't see a white person wearing cornrows as appropriation. I saw it like back in the day. I think it was the whole point was there were movie stars that were white that were wearing that like black hairstyles, and they pretty much got a lot. I don't know if credit is the right word, but it was acceptable. But then in real life, you couldn't have those kind of hairstyles like in an office or any sort of formal workplace. So that I can understand. But now that we're past all that shit, like what white dude with cornrows besides I don't know riffraff is gonna be fucking making any sort of money anytime soon?
Yeah. No, that's true.
I don't know. I just always thought cultural appropriation is dumb, especially if you're not making any money. Then who gives a fuck? Like,
Right, yeah,
why do you
because
care if some
that
random person is stealing your shit if you're still making money? Like, I don't know.
yeah, well, right, because like I know the argument is like like you're profiting from it,
Yeah,
but also
exactly.
like
Like, what the fuck?
yeah, I guess you could make that, but it's like some people just think other stuff is cool. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Or the dreadlocks thing. The dreadlocks thing is really fucking stupid.
Yeah, whatever.
It's like what I think the reason why I hate it is it's people that don't that did not create something that claim they have ownership of it. So it's like no fucking unless you're a hairstylist and you make your own specific type of hairstyle. Like no black person alive today made cornrows or fucking dreadlocks. You know what I mean? Like that shit's been fucking around forever. So it's like them claiming
Right,
ownership because
exactly.
they're just black. It's just really fucking stupid. But again, I don't give a shit about hairstyles. So it's like I don't need to wear cornrows or dreadlocks to make a point. It's just the fact that I can't do it because it's appropriation, even though I'm not even making a career out of it. It's just so retarded to me. Like it just it forever will. And the thing I agree with is, yeah, if you are being discriminated on because of your hair in the fucking workplace or school or whatever, yeah, that should not fucking happen. You should be able to wear whatever goddamn hairstyle you want, wear whatever tattoos you want in any professional setting, and it should be fine. So fair enough, but getting pissed off at random fucking druggies wearing dreadlocks is just dumb to me.
Eh,
It always will. But again, it's
eh.
not a hill I'll die on. Like I don't need to fucking wear dreadlocks or cornrows or really any traditional, I guess, African hairstyle. Like I don't give a shit.
Eh. I guess we could talk about this another time. Because like I'd like to talk about this, but
The point
I'm
is,
really
I'm never
tired.
gonna make a career out of appropriating someone else's culture. Like that's never gonna happen. So like I can fucking do whatever I want. I'm never gonna make money at it. So fuck off. Is my point. I'm
Right.
never gonna claim it's mine either. Like I.
And it's like you can't listen to all this Latin music. I'm like, okay, why not? Did you make this fucking Latin music? Like, why do you get to listen to it?
Yeah, that's my
You
point. It's just
know?
like people that didn't create something bitching about how they can only enjoy it. It's like it's just retarded. It really is. Like I'll die on that hill that it's stupid.
Right. Exactly. But yeah. All right.
Yep.
Said to be a short one.
Shorty orty.
Yep. We'll make it longer. We'll make a longer one for the next time.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep. Until then,
Goodbye.
goodbye.